Across 3,000 years of Egypt, a handful of women ruled as pharaoh. Later records called them queens, but archaeology shows at least 7 were full monarchs. They rose in times of crisis, regency, or sheer will, claimed divine right, and left their mark in ancient Egyptian history. And so, this episode's ranking moves from least to most powerful, weighing politics, religion, war, and legacy. And along the way, we see why so many of their names were erased. And our countdown starts at the dawn of pharaohs, with a woman who ruled 5,000 years ago. Number 7. Merneith, First Dynasty, 2950 BC. Merneith lived in Egypt's first dynasty. She was the wife of King Jet and mother of King Den. When Jet died, she likely ruled until Den was old enough to govern. Her authority is shown in Tomb Y at Abydos. Her name is carved on 2 stelae, a mark of kings. Her tomb was grand, with dozens of servants buried around her chamber. That honor was usually reserved for kings. Even a seal from Den's tomb lists her as a ruler, not just a consort. Merneith ruled during a fragile time and kept the dynasty steady. And although she didn't have the later kingly titles, one vase shows her name inside a serek, a symbol for kings. So that suggests she was accepted as monarch in her own day. Other inscriptions call her Mother of the King, which also sealed her legitimacy. Den grew up to rule for decades, a sign that her regency worked. Later, king lists ignored her or reduced her to wife. Only archaeology, starting with the Abydos dig in the modern year of 1900, revealed her true role. Her 2 tombs, one at Abydos and one at Memphis, prove her high standing. So, from the very start of Egypt's story, a woman could rule, even if the scribes didn't always know what to do with that fact. But she wasn't the only mother to step in. There was another queen who carved her face into Giza's stone. Number 6. Khentkawes I, 4th Dynasty, 2500 BC. Khentkawes I was buried at Giza near the pyramids. She was the daughter of King Menkaure and the wife of King Hatshepsut. When her husband died around 2500 BC, Egypt had no clear heir. So she likely stepped in as regent during the shift from the 4th to the 5th dynasty. She had at least 2 sons, who both became kings, and her tomb was so large that people later called it the 4th pyramid. An inscription at the entrance calls her Mother of the King of Upper and Lower Egypt, acting as King of Upper and Lower Egypt. At first, scholars thought this meant Mother of 2 kings, but now it seems more likely she ruled herself. Inside her tomb, she is shown on a throne with the royal cobra on her forehead. She even wore a false beard, the same kind male pharaohs strapped on, which wasn't stylish, but it got the point across. She probably ruled to protect her young sons until they were old enough. And they went on to found the 5th dynasty. Her temple and harbor show she was treated with the same honors as pyramid-building kings. Later, Egyptians told stories of a woman who built a great monument at Giza. Her descendant, Khentkawes II, copied her titles and built her own pyramid at Abu Sir. And much later, another widow would take Egypt's throne in a time of crisis. Number 5. Twosret, 19th Dynasty, 1190 BC. Twosret was the great royal wife of Seti II. When his heir Siptah was too sick to rule, she stepped in as regent. She shared power with a courtier named Bey until she decided he was more trouble than help. So she had him executed, which cleared the way for her to take full control. When Siptah died without an heir, Twosret crowned herself Pharaoh. She took the throne name Sitre-Meriamun, which meant daughter of Ra, beloved of Amun. She adopted the full royal titles, even the Horus name, Strong Bull, beloved of Ma'at. Not bad for someone who started as queen consort. Her solo reign lasted about 2 years, and during that time she didn't chase wars. Instead, she turned to diplomacy and trade. In Thebes, she began a memorial temple, pieces of which still stand. And in the Valley of the Kings, she expanded Tomb K514, once meant for Seti II, and claimed it for herself. Inscriptions show she counted her regency and reign as one continuous rule. But her story ended in civil war. A stela from her successor says a usurper named Irsu took land and looted Egypt. Soon after, Setnakte, the founder of the 20th dynasty, overthrew her. He seized KV-14, erased her images, and left her true burial unknown. Later rulers branded her reign part of a dark and chaotic time. Still, fragments of inscriptions remember her as a powerful lady. But if Twosret's reign closed with chaos, the next queen went even further. She tried to rewrite Egypt's gods themselves. Number 4. Nefertiti, 18th Dynasty, 1353 to 1336 BC. Nefertiti is best known for her statue, but she was also a key player in Egypt's Amarna revolution. As great royal wife to Akhenaten, she helped replace the old gods with worship of the Aten. In carvings, she stands nearly equal to the king, offering to the sun, wearing the blue crown, and even bashing enemies. Under their rule, Egypt saw both turmoil and wealth. Her name means, "The Beautiful One has come." But she was no ordinary queen, for she carried titles like Great Royal Wife and Mistress of Upper and Lower Egypt. And after about 12 years, the evidence shows she gained more power. Toward the end of Akhenaten's reign, she may have taken the name Neferneferuaten. Inscriptions hint at a female pharaoh with that name, possibly Nefertiti, ruling briefly before Tutankhamun. If true, she tried to keep Akhenaten's vision alive between 1336 and 1334 BC. The proof is thin, just scraps of writing and graffiti, but it suggests she ruled as a bridge to the next age. Her end is still a mystery. She disappears from records in year 16 of Akhenaten's reign, maybe by death or by a new title. No tomb has ever been found. Afterward, her and Akhenaten's experiment was erased, statues smashed, names cut from king lists. For centuries she was forgotten until her bust surfaced in the year 1912. Today, scholars see her as a ruler who held real power, though later kings worked hard to hide it. And long before her, another Egyptian princess went so far as to crown herself after a crocodile god. Because why not? Number 3. Sobekneferu, 12th Dynasty, 1806 to 1802 BC. Sobekneferu came to power at the end of the 12th dynasty, after her brother Amenemhat IV died without an heir. She took on the full royal titles, including the throne name Sobekare, honoring the crocodile god Sobek. Her birth name, meaning beauty of Sobek, tied her even closer to him. Sobek symbolized strength and fertility, which made her claim to rule harder to argue with. Sobekneferu did not hide that she was a woman. For instance, inscriptions changed son of Ra to daughter of Ra, and her images showed her with both male and female features. She wore the royal kilt, Neme's headdress, and even the false beard, yet her figure and titles marked her as female. It was her way of saying she was pharaoh, and still herself. Her reign lasted just under 4 years, according to the Turin canon. In that short time, she oversaw major projects. She finished Amenemhat III's massive Hawara funerary complex, which later impressed Herodotus. She also built or expanded temples at Tel Daba and Heracleopolis Magna. These works suggest she cared about both religion and stability in a period of change. Her rule ended the 12th dynasty around 1802 BC, leading into the unstable 13th dynasty. Later records implied she ruled only because no male was left. Egyptian chroniclers tried to downplay her, but evidence survives. Statues, seals, and a possible unfinished pyramid at Masguna all point to her reign. She even appears in king lists, and the historian Manetho called her Semiophris. Sobekneferu also set an example for those who came after her. Her use of full royal regalia, including the false beard, shaped how later female rulers like Hatshepsut presented themselves. So her reign may have been short, but it showed a woman could wear the double crown. And much later, Egypt's last pharaoh would step beyond history and into legend. Number 2. Cleopatra VII, Ptolemaic Dynasty, 51 to 30 BC. Cleopatra VII is probably the most famous female pharaoh, though her legend as a seductress hides the truth of her power. She was the last active ruler of Egypt, inheriting a kingdom under threat from Rome. At age 18, she ruled with her brother, Ptolemy VIII, until a coup forced her out. In 48 BC, she returned to Alexandria, rolled up in a rug to meet Julius Caesar. And with his backing, she raised an army, defeated her brother, and won back the throne. She ruled nearly 20 years, putting down revolts and rivals. With control of Egypt's grain, she became the richest monarch in the Mediterranean. She allied with Caesar, had a son, then turned to Mark Antony, having 3 more children and plotting a shared empire. At her height, she ruled Egypt, Cyprus, and parts of Syria, with influence spreading into Rome itself. Unlike earlier Ptolemies, Cleopatra adopted Egyptian identity. She likely spoke Egyptian, the first of her dynasty to do so. She even styled herself as the new Isis, which she had carved in temples in Pharaoh's garb, making offerings. She was highly educated, fluent in many languages, and wrote on medicine, law, and finance. One papyrus even bears her own handwriting, ordering simply, "Make it happen." She reformed coinage, issuing bronze aligned with Roman currency, which kept Egypt's economy strong as Rome's breadbasket. Her fall came in 31 BC at Actium, where she and Antony lost to Octavian. In 30 BC, facing capture, she killed herself, said to be by asp bite. her death ended Egypt's independence and made it a Roman province. Rome smeared her name to glorify Augustus, but in Egypt she was honored. Her advisor once paid a fortune to save her statues, and priests remembered her for centuries. And so Cleopatra ruled fleets and armies. She faced Rome's greatest men as an equal, and she briefly slowed Egypt's decline. Her story, which was reduced to romance, erases the fact she was a linguist, a diplomat, a commander, and a goddess queen. She was the last of Egypt's great queens, but not the greatest, because that title belongs to someone with far more power than she ever held. Number 1. Hatshepsut, 18th Dynasty, 1479 to 1458 BC. Hatshepsut's name means foremost of noble women. And guess what? She lived up to it. She is remembered as the most successful female pharaoh and one of Egypt's greatest rulers. Daughter of Thutmose I, she married her half-brother Thutmose II, and when he died, she acted as regent for the young Thutmose III. Within 7 years, she crowned herself pharaoh, stepping ahead of him. She worked hard to justify her rule. At her temple in Deir el-Bahari, she claimed the god Amun had fathered her by visiting her mother in the form of a pharaoh. She wore full royal regalia, the headcloth with cobra emblem, the kilt, and even the false beard. Some statues gave her a woman's body, but male symbols of power. Her titles played the same game, calling her His Majesty herself. Hatshepsut ruled for about 22 years, from 1479 to 1458 BC. Her reign brought peace and wealth, and she became one of Egypt's greatest builders. Her crowning achievement was her temple at Deir el-Bahari. It shows her famous expedition to Punt, which was likely in modern Eritrea or Somalia. On this expedition, her ships returned with myrrh trees, incense, ivory, and gold. She said they came back laden with marvels, courtesy of Amun. She also raised 2 giant obelisks at Karnak, each over 30 meters tall. One still stands as the tallest ancient obelisk in Egypt. These monuments showed both her devotion to Amun and the resources at her command. Hatshepsut was less warlike than many pharaohs. An early Nubian campaign is recorded, and she claimed some border victories. But her real legacy was peace and stability, which allowed art, trade, and religion to flourish. Later rulers, including Thutmose III, reaped the benefits of the strong base she built. Meanwhile, she nearly ruled on her own. Thutmose III kept the title of king, but he was junior until her death. Only then did he take full power. 2 decades later, her images were hacked off temples, statues were smashed, and her name was cut from king lists. The aim was clear: restore a line of male rulers and bury her memory. However, that effort failed. Modern archaeology uncovered her story in the 19th century. And despite attempts to erase her, records show she was a pioneering ruler. She proved a woman could be pharaoh in every sense, ruling Upper and Lower Egypt. And so, by power, wealth, religion, and culture, Hatshepsut stood equal to the greatest kings. Remembered also as Ma'at Kare, she showed that in Egypt, gender did not block the throne.